Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Unhinged. Before we begin, let me know in the comments if you were looking forward to this or what your thoughts were if you've seen it already, and make sure to give this a thumbs up if you like these reviews. It helps me out immensely if you do that. Also, if you're new here and you like movies, whether it be blockbusters, hidden gems, or everything in between, please consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with reviews of new releases and some classics. But now, let's jump right into it. This thriller focuses on a woman named Rachel, played by Caren Pistorius, who's going through a bad day. She's going through a divorce, she has work issues, and she can never seem to get anywhere on time. However, her bad day is made even worse when she gets into a confrontation at an intersection with a man named Tom, played by Russell Crowe. She quickly becomes the subject of his rage, and her bad day becomes deadly. This film is written by Carl Ellsworth, who also wrote Red Eye, Disturbia, and the remake of The Last House on the Left. And it's directed by Derek Bort, whose most notable work was his feature debut, a dark comedy known as The Joneses in 2009. This looks to present itself as a pulpy, over-the-top action movie. This features Russell Crowe, a man who's known in real life for having some pretty severe physical altercations, getting into even more brutal, bloody interactions with just about anyone who gets in his path. And his performance is very scene-chewing. He's extremely over-the-top, almost to the point of sounding comical. Like, the first few times I heard him talk, I felt like I was hearing an angry Colonel Sanders. Now, I'd also like to make it clear that I enjoy over-the-top action movies. Some examples of movies I like are the two Raid movies, The Night Comes for Us, Dread, Commando, and the John Wick movies. Some of these can be brutal, bloody, sometimes over-the-top, and even at other times darkly comic. A few of them are even in the top 10 for me of the respective years they were released. Some people will see this as another entry in the vein of those bloody action movies, and combined with Russell Crowe's scene-chewing performance, will enjoy it for some cheap genre thrills. I don't fall into that category. In fact, I hated this movie. I found it to be morally repugnant in some regards. See, the action in all the other movies that I listed involved the hero up against armies of people who are poised as the bad guys or irredeemable. So it's satisfying when you see Arnold Schwarzenegger hack people's limbs off in Commando, or when Keanu Reeves takes his revenge on the people who killed his dog in a very grotesque manner in John Wick. However, just about everyone who's the target of Russell Crowe's anger here are all innocent people who are simply guilty of being associated with this one woman who pissed him off and wouldn't apologize, and they're killed in the most sadistic, grotesque, dragged out manner. Like, one scene he'll meet someone in a diner who knows Rachel, and he'll bash this person's head in repeatedly against the table before stabbing him. Another person is someone Rachel interacts with at a gas station, and when he's by himself, Russell Crowe will run him over with his car and knock him into the street, only to then get killed by a truck hitting him at full speed a second later. And those are actually two of the tamer interactions we see. These are mostly unsuspecting people who get punished in the worst possible way for simply occupying the same space as Russell Crowe. And I know there are tons and tons of movies that involve an innocent person getting killed. I've seen my share of slasher movies, thrillers, action movies, horror movies, where all that happened, and there are plenty I really enjoy. If I was condemning movies simply on the idea of innocent people getting killed alone, I wouldn't have much that I can give a positive review. But it's all about the tone and the context. If you look at a slasher movie, for example, most of the innocent people who die in those, not all, but most, are people who we spend time with, who we're actively rooting for, and are trying to stop this one villain. So it hits us emotionally when they get killed off. And usually it'll fuel the remaining characters to work hard and try to stop this villain, and it keeps us invested in the story as it's revenge for these other likable characters who were killed off. And if the death is in this over-the-top matter, there are usually factors added in, like if it's supernatural and allows the writers to be a little more creative, or if the tone is established at the beginning that you're not supposed to take it too seriously, or whatever it may be. However, this is a movie that's supposed to be 100% grounded in reality. Other than Russell Crowe's ridiculous performance, it's supposed to be taken completely seriously. Yet, we can't take it seriously if it doesn't respect its characters. And most of the people who are introduced here die or are horrifically maimed in the same scene they're introduced, or in their second scene. Their entire purpose is to get killed by Russell Crowe, and it's kind of disgusting, given that they're just people who happen to be associated with this one woman, and don't even have any idea of what's going on. And now, let's talk about Rachel. She's not even really a likable character herself. Caren Pistorius' performance was fine, but this wasn't a character I ever cared to root for. Before she meets Russell Crowe, we just see her get into arguments with her family, so there's nothing to be invested in once she meets this guy. We're not given a reason why to root for her other than that Russell Crowe's worse. And every decision she makes seems to be the wrong one, and not all of them are these heat-of-the-moment bad decisions, they are thought-out dumb ideas. And it seems like it was written this way because there didn't seem to be any sort of organic ways in which to keep the chase between her and Russell Crowe up for 90 minutes, because there are multiple times where things could have logically ended, and she does something to keep dragging things out. Whatever the reasonable choice should have been, she does the opposite, as do multiple characters for that matter, not just her. The only one with any real sense to them is her son, played by Gabriel Bateman. There's even a scene early on in the middle of an argument, he's trying to tell his mom, please stop. Like, he's the only one who gets it. And on top of really bad decisions, there are a lot of coincidences that also keep fueling the conflict that ask you to really suspend your disbelief too far. Like, when the initial confrontation between Russell Crowe and Caren Pistorius happens, Gabriel Bateman's in the car and he rolls down the window, and then when his mom tells him to roll it back up as Russell Crowe's chastising her, all of a sudden, the window's not working even though he's hitting the up button. Like, really? There's also a bizarre opening credit sequence where we're played news clips discussing road rage, as if road rage is this new epidemic that needs to get under control, and I'm not entirely sure what the purpose of this was. To tell us road rage is a thing? Okay. It presents us these reports as if the movie's supposed to be some sort of critique on people getting angry on the road, but it never actually has anything to say, which was really weird, especially given the nature of Russell Crowe's character. The one interesting thing I'll say about him is the reason he continuously goes as far as he does is because he states he doesn't care if he gets killed by the police right then and there. So he'll keep going till he can't anymore. And in a more tasteful movie, this is a good concept to explore because it doesn't box the writing in, and it makes for an interesting antagonist. It raises the stakes, because he'll kill people in public where he's clearly being filmed, and he'll walk away not even caring. So you're on edge with what's going to happen next. However, everything else about this guy, in terms of how he's written, is insulting. He's not presented as this guy who just had a bad case of road rage and just snapped, as those opening credits lead you to believe. We actually even see him in the first scene before the opening credits, where he sits in his car and he thinks over a clearly calculated double murder before going into a house and committing said double murder. And we learn in a news report after the fact that the person he killed in the opening was his ex-wife and her boyfriend, and they had a restraining order against him. But the only other character traits revealed about him are the fact that he's mentally unstable and he has a drug problem. And that's all we learn about him, and it just feels like a gross generalization. Yeah, he's mentally unstable and he has a drug problem, therefore he's a murderous psychopath. It's literally this one-line explanation that sums him up. This guy is the epitome of every negative stereotype you've ever heard about drug addiction and mental health, and considering we really need better conversations about those two subjects, it just feels extremely gross to boil this guy down to one line to justify his calculated murderous behavior, especially when it's a movie that's asking you to take it so seriously. Frankly, this movie is disgusting. It's essentially torture porn. It presents these brutal, drawn-out death sequences of innocent characters whose sole purpose is to just get killed by Russell Crowe. It has severe logic gaps in order to stretch things out for 90 minutes. It has two extremely unlikable lead characters, and it has these bizarre generalizations that it attempts to pass off as character development, but are borderline offensive. Russell Crowe's over-the-top performance is probably the only decent thing about this, but otherwise, it's pure trash. Unhinged gets a 2.5 out of 10. So let me know, did you see Unhinged, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you like Russell Crowe's performance, and did you find anything else about this redeemable? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll catch you next time.